Hi, this morning I watched The Flash, one of this year's several DCU comic book adventures. It's the first feature film to center on the character of Barry Allen, who can run faster than time, and having featured in several previous movies, now gets his own solo outing. He's haunted by the fact that his father is currently undergoing a protracted court case regarding the murder of his mother, for which Barry knows his father is innocent but can't produce any actual evidence. And he discovers, while attempting to run back in time, that he really can actually travel back and change the past. Unfortunately, it means that none of his other superhero colleagues have joined the Justice League, and that, as depicted in Man of Steel, General Zod from Krypton is attacking, and there's no one left to defend the Earth. So he has to join forces with a younger, alternate version of himself, who inherits his powers, and together they team up with Bruce Wayne, the retired version of Batman, now played by Michael Keaton, effectively making this a quasi sequel to the two Tim Burton Batman movies, to save the Earth and correct the timelines. It's wildly overcomplicated. Um, it's horribly miscast. Ezra Miller, who plays Barry, is a real black hole of charisma. I thought they were very good in We Need to Talk About Kevin some years ago, but obviously they've had this whole crime wave situation going on and various unpleasant allegations about their personal life. But here they're really quite poor, playing two different versions of Barry. One is very uh, tamped down and uninteresting. The other is an unlikable motor mouth, and neither of them are particularly interesting or engaging. We have Michael Keaton back as Bruce Wayne and Batman, an older version of the character, but so much of the time we're just looking at a stuntman or a CGI double. There's very little of the movie, I think, where it's actually Michael Keaton, and even then you can see him almost wincing as he has to repeat lines from his previous movies so that the audience can remember other better films. The direction by Andy Muschietti is weak, extremely so. This is his first non horror feature, and he shows almost no talent of any kind. The visual effects in the movie are fairly awful. There are a lot of scenes that are just CGI mush, where it's all CGI backdrops and CGI elements and CGI people, and they're not given any sense of reality or weight. Nothing matters. The script is a real mess. There is a main plot thread we follow for about an hour winds up being a complete dead end, with something else that was briefly seeded earlier in the movie brought in to provide some kind of climax. And it's really just a jumble of pre existing elements. The fact that the film has been in development for so long, that it was shelved, that it had to be reshot, and so much extra work went into it, means that the multiverse aspect has now been completely steamrolled by um, Marvel movies and by Everything Everywhere All at Once. It now looks old hat. As someone else pointed out, um, Bruce Wayne's version of, or rather Michael Keaton's version of Batman, works in the gothic film noir environment of Tim Burton's Gotham City. When he's out fighting Kryptonians in the desert in the middle of nowhere, as he is in this movie, it looks weird and ridiculous. And it just shows the problem with the movie. No one's really thought any of this through. It just feels like everyone's thrown ideas at a dartboard and they've used all those ideas, fashioned them into something that vaguely resembles a script, and the result is nearly 2.5 hours long. It's a weakly written, badly directed, badly cast film. Um, it's yet another DC movie that's terrible. We have a new version of Supergirl who does very little, has basically no personality, and the worst part is perhaps the cameos by various former incarnations of Batman and Superman that we see in one of the time travel sequences. Thanks to CGI, we get George Reeves back from the 1950s TV series. We have Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater as the 80s Superman and Supergirl. Um, brief appearance by Adam West as the 60s Batman. Even Nicolas Cage appears briefly as Superman from the aborted 90s Superman Lives project, although given that it looks so much like CGI, it's baffling to think that Nicolas Cage actually shot material for this movie. It doesn't look like it at all. It looks like he just said, yes, you can do a CGI version of me. Um, it's a fairly terrible movie. If you've been enjoying the DC movies so far, then heaven help you. You'll probably enjoy this as well because at least it's not quite as awful as Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel, or Justice League, or Aquaman. But given that have set such a low bar, I think the fact that this isn't one of the five worst films I've seen this year should be some kind of achievement.